What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of Unemployable. Today was a really cool podcast. We have Perry, Eric, and Mark on today's episode. We talked about a lot of stuff today. We talked about my detention in Cyprus, where I actually got locked up in the airport. Talked about the transition from Dubai back into the Mediterranean. I talked about a podcast coming up on this Sunday with a lady who moved to Syros in the Greek islands with 2 kids and a husband, what she went through, how much she's loving life, and how it's impacted her family life so dramatically by eradicating tax almost entirely. I go through her tax stack, how she actually pays less than 1% tax living in the Mediterranean, running her company from home as a digital nomad in Greece. Very, very cool. We talk about the current Bitcoin drawdown and what it means, why it's happening, what the targets are, what you should do, what you shouldn't do right now. We talked about a whole bunch more. We had a chat about life in Australia, creating breathing room in your life, how to have a low time preference. We talked about some really interesting stuff from Elon Musk this week, artificial intelligence, what's happening with the change in our phones, and how not anything to do with the recent webinar we did, but just how phones are moving towards AI-powered phones and the imminent, enormous change that is on the horizon and happening now, and so much more. You're really going to enjoy this one. It was a lot of fun. Guys, if you haven't already done so and you're new to the channel or you've been here for a while, if you enjoy the content, please just hit the subscribe button, because the more subscribers we have, the better guests we can get to bring onto the show. And in this episode, we talk about and share some data with you from the podcast itself, and it shows the power of having the right guests on the show. So please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. With that said, let's get into this episode of Unemployable. All right, guys, welcome to another episode. Good to see you, Eric, Mark, and
how are you guys?
Perry standing in for the one and only James Denham. Perry, how you doing, buddy? You good up there in Thailand?
G'day, mate. I'm doing well, mate. From Australia, though, today.
You become a regular fixture, Perry. You don't want to. You've made it into the first team. You don't want to give up your spot now.
James ain't getting me. Heard it here first.
Guys, let's get into it, because I know we've got a bit of a tight timeline today. We've got Eric's got to run back to his McMansion, which is full of workers from all over the Gold Coast. He's nearing the final stages of completion. So look, guys, let's kick off with the reason I wasn't here last week, which was because I was in the lockup, literally. It was kind of funny, I got off the plane from Dubai, and I flew into Cyprus. And basically what happened was you're allowed 90 days every 6 months in Cyprus on the visa that I had, and until I get my official residency card. And so I was coming back to actually pick up my official residency card. But what I didn't realize is that, unlike Southeast Asia, where, like, if you're in Bali and you've got a 30-day visa, you can extend it to 60 days while you're in country, but then you have to leave the country. So a lot of people do what they call a visa run, and they, jump over to Singapore or KL or something, and then just go straight back to Bali, and then the clock starts again. But here it doesn't start again. So I'd done these side trips to Athens or, out of Cyprus, thinking that when I come back in, my 90 days starts again, but it doesn't. It's cumulative. And so I had 90 cumulative days. I had 94 cumulative days. So I was 4 days over. They escorted me straight into a detention room at the airports. First time in my life I've actually been locked in a room by authorities of any kind. I haven't had drunken disorderlies. I've never been in a paddy wagon, nothing. And so I got thrown in this room, and it's got a big steel table. It was like the Matrix. They had a steel chair and not full lights. The window that was in the door was papered out, and it was locked from the outside. So I couldn't go to the bathroom, couldn't do anything. And so anyway, thankfully I rang my immigration lawyer at 11 p.m. at night, and he answered and spoke to the officers, and they held me for like 4 hours. I wasn't let out till 2 in the morning. And so by the time the pod was on the next day, so it was interesting, but it was totally my fault.
You didn't have your residency card in Cyprus. You needed that, and if you got it now, like what?
Yeah, so I'm here to do my biometrics and get my official residency card now. So basically, all the paperwork I've been putting, it's quite a lot to get all the papers involved. Everything's got to, the longest thing in immigrating into Cyprus is the apostille documents. So it means that there's like your police clearance certificate, for example, you have to get it and then you have to send it back to Australia where it has to be apostilled in the embassy by someone, and then they've got to turn it around and send it back. And that can take months to get. So I was sitting waiting months and months for this one document, which was the apostille police clearance certificate saying that I'm not a criminal, don't have a criminal record. But so they had my entire file ready to lodge with the Cyprus government and everything. And that was the last piece of the documentation that was.
And you had to do that within 90 days.
Yeah, basically, and I didn't anticipate that it would take, and it costs $1,500 per document that you need apostilled. So it's slow and whatever. So anyway, it's finally all done, and so now I've just got to go in and do the biometrics, fingerprinting, face photo, all that stuff, and then it's finished. But
so hang on, what do you mean? What do you mean biometrics? Because
when you
you've
immigrate,
been outspoken about Face ID. So what's happening here?
Well, I mean, look, if you want to immigrate to a country, that's what you do. When I went to the US and got my visa there, I had to do bone scans, full X-rays, blood tests. So same as Cyprus, I have to do blood tests for the initial visa that gave me permission to come in and do what I had to do to apply. I still had to do blood tests, sexual health tests, all those types of things. That's standard issue when you're immigrating to a new country.
They want to make sure you don't have the Charlie Sheen tiger blood.
That's hang on. That's standard when you go to Cyprus. But if you go to the UK or the US, you get put up in a 5-star hotel, do you?
Well, you got to go illegally for that. You can't go.
If you go legally, you avoid the test.
Correct.
The question I have, Adam, is it gives me anxiety when you even mention a door that you can't open from the inside, it's locked from the outside, like that how did you not panic?
Well,
like how did you not like have a proper panic attack?
Sorry, didn't see you there. While you're here, actually, we've got a new coaching cohort that just opened up for the Unemployable Property Coaching Program, that you get taught on how to become a property developer. One-on-one coaching, bi-monthly coaching, and also events where we get a full coach bus with all the students and go to 6-7 different development sites. When I say development sites, from 1 lot to 10 lots to 50 lots. So you get to see exactly why we buy it, how we fund it, and also how you can do it yourself. The next day, we had an amazing event at the QT Hotel here on the Gold Coast where we had all of our consultants come in and teach everybody on what they're looking for with sites, what are the different trends, and how you can become a property developer yourself. Now you see me on the video, but who you're gonna be getting coached by is Shannon and Carson. Who's Shannon and Carson? 4 years ago, Carson was cleaning carpets. Shannon was a machine operator. Today, they're doing over $100 million worth of land deals. I know you're listening, and I know you want to take action. And if that's you, click on the link below or go to www.unemployableproperty.com.au and register your interest, and one of our team will reach out to you, and we'll see you on the next bus. Now get out of here.
Yeah.
How are you on?
Well, there was a window that looked through to the offices on one side, and then the door that had the door panel that was blocked out so that people walking by couldn't see who was in the room. But it didn't dawn on me that it was locked on the inside until I was on my phone trying to find proof that my file had been lodged with the Cyprus immigration team, which I found. And so then I went to open the door to sort of lean out and say, hey guys, I've got this. And the handle just was floppy. And I was like, oh my God, I am literally locked up here. And then they threw this surly Russian in with me who'd been detained as well. And so he was quite angry and agitated. And I was just tired. So I just sat there and was super polite to the officers. But I'm sitting there with this Russian dude, and like the two of us are just sitting opposite each other in 2 steel chairs with a steel, thing. But anyway, look, it was uneasy, but it really does make you appreciate your freedom, and it makes you not take things for granted. But But, you know, the next day I got up and I just thought, just to move off this quickly, the next morning came and I'm in my little studio apartment here that I'm here for 2 weeks just to get my biometrics and things sorted out. And I went down to the street and it was just so nice to be back in the Med, you know, because I spent months here in Cyprus and breathing that fresh air after Cyprus and the desert and the consumerism and the traffic. Like the traffic was a nightmare getting from my apartment in Dubai to the airport. It took us 30 minutes to go 100 meters to get onto the highway, and then there was 2 more traffic jams for the airport. It took an hour and a half to get what would normally be 30 minutes. But back in Cyprus, it was just, I could breathe again, and the ocean's at the end of the street, and the pace of life was slower. It just felt really, really good. And then I had a podcast, which I wanted to just alert people to, that's coming out on Sunday on Unemployable, with a lady called Janine Howard. And so I interviewed Janine yesterday for the listeners, and it's going to come out as a Sat Signal episode. But Janine and her family moved to a little Greek island called Syros. And we had her on the show because she has 2 kids, and people have been asking, can you interview a family that has relocated to a tax-friendly environment? And so we did this call yesterday at sunset, and she's sitting in her apartment with the Greek sunset filling her, you know, her living room where she was doing it from. And she shared on the pod how she's set up a structure where her company is in Bali, because that's where she was originally going to move. The company's in Bali. She lives in Syros with a digital nomad visa, her and her husband and her 2 kids, aged 10 and 12, and they pay 0.5% tax using the structure that they've set up. So if you're interested in a more easeful, tax-free life, and you hear her talk about it, make sure you watch this Sunday's pod, because it was really, really interesting. And her talking about the impact that it's had on their relationship and on their health and their kids' happiness and the sort of sense of space that's now in their life, and how, you know, they go for a swim at midday on the swim platform on the edge of the island. And you guys are welcome to ask any questions about it. It was fascinating because, you know, we know there's a lot of interest in this subject. And as we'll talk about the data that we discovered this week, but I mean, it was fascinating chat.
It's funny you say that, because one of my best mates just bought a place in Syros.
Okay, yeah.
Lives here. We both know him. We won't mention names, but we both know him. You know him as well.
Yeah. It's apparently a beautiful island.
Yeah.
It's funny because the world is just getting so much closer together, right? Like I was listening to Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, and that SpaceX just did a rocket test flight, and it went up and then landed back down in Australia in 35 minutes. So from the time it went up to the time it landed in Australia, it was 35 minutes. And Elon has spoken before how physically it's possible for him to launch a commercial rocket into space, basically goes across, drops down, and drops you in another country, and you could pretty much get anywhere in the world within like 35 minutes to an hour. And so, like, we just, like, things are moving so quick. We don't know, like, we could literally be 5-10 years away from being able to get to another country in 35 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I listened to that podcast and I heard Joe Rogan's mind getting blown when Elon explained that the rocket ship, which is the fastest flying object in the history of humanity, moves at 18 times the speed of a bullet out of a handgun.
Yeah, because Joe Rogan understands bullets, and he understands like archery, and he understands how quick that shit goes, right? So it's just like,
and he said it's 18 times faster than the bullet from a handgun is what his SpaceX rocket that can carry people. But it was an interesting chat, you know, and I've had a couple of those interesting chats since I've been back from Dubai. And I know you guys talked about Dubai last week, but, you know, one of my good friends here relocated from Australia, and he's nearly 60, he's 59. And we were just sort of laughing at the fact that the other day we sort of met for a coffee, then we walked through the streets and just meandered looking at the architecture, and then we walked past the old boys playing backgammon and, you know, all that. And we were just sort of noticing that, you know, although there's a big gap between us financially, we're both basically living the same life. We're both living in a little studio apartment in the back streets of Limassol. We're both eating at the same restaurants. Neither of us have a car. We're both living on what you could fit in 2 or 3 suitcases, and we're both happy. So we're going to bring you guys more of that, because more info on that. I've got another family I'm interviewing next week who I met in Dubai, who had set their company up in Dubai, they too have 2 young kids recently moved to, what's it called, Perry, that area we're speaking about?
Which
Hanyin or
one?
something? Hanyin or
Why?
Wahin. Yeah, they moved to Wahin in Thailand. And I'm having them on the pod next week for all you listeners to listen to. And it's an Aussie family. They run a small business from a laptop in the FX space. So they move money for athletes. That's all they do. And it's a very successful business. And they've moved out of Australia to Wahin. And they just said, it is the best thing we've ever done. Our taxes are now almost zero. And we just are loving life in Southeast Asia. So if you guys like this, make sure you drop in the comment. You want to hear more of these stories. You know, Perry's over in Thailand. If you want to hear more of the how-to, because I've been asking them specifically, what's your company structure? How much tax are you paying? What's the cost of living? Because this month, we found this week, Perry, you gave us the data, but the #1 podcast in the last month was with Matt Cameron, who moved to Bali. That podcast on its own did more views than every other podcast that we put out. And you're talking about maybe another 10 pieces of content combined, did less than the one interview with Matt on its own, which is really fascinating what people are interested in watching.
But you know what's interesting?
I've had people. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just going to say I've had people reach out to me during the week because I think on the last episode I said how I regretted not coming to Dubai, and I got a huge case of FOMO because the whole reason I agreed to do this podcast was to kind of be in the room and be part of the community, have the shared mission. And, I got like 2 or 3 people reach out and just say, oh my God, thanks for saying that, because we've been doing exactly the same thing. We've been just head down and, living a little bit in a scarce mindset, because when you're out there just isolating yourself on that island to get ahead, it's like, well, it's kind of contradictory to what we really should be doing. So I know I would definitely love to hear more stories of people who have made those big changes, because I think they're really important. I think that's the heart and soul of what this community is about. People realizing that, like that lady that you posted about the other week, who messaged you like in 2019, and to us that would have been just another person messaging, and to her, she's completely changed her life based on that interaction. And that's just wild. That hits you like a ton of bricks. I think it's wild.
We all have excuses on why we don't do certain things. I don't have the time, I can't afford it, all these things, right? But you literally just have to make the decision and go. Sometimes you just got to press go. And it's amazing, there's so many people that we met in Dubai, and I have friends that have moved there. Adam and I have mutual friends that have moved there. And a lot of the people that I know that went were like, oh, I want to check it out. Maybe we'll go there and move there. And, and then they come back to Australia. And don't get me wrong, Dubai is not for everybody, right? Like, it is crazy busy. It is very commercialized. It is very different. Like, there's zero nature. That's for sure. But then it's funny because then you get back and then I start hearing commentary around, about, how good's the Gold Coast and how good's Australia and the fresh air and the beaches and the rest of it. And it's so crazy how people can just get straight back into a comfort zone and talking themselves into, it's all good. Australia is amazing. And I'll just keep paying my 40 to 50% tax. And, it's just so interesting that people go somewhere, think about it, and then just come straight back, and then you go straight back into the same routine, going, you know what, Australia is not that bad considering when you think of this and you think of that. I'm just like, in my head, I'm just going, yeah, but the whole tax is the problem, right? But it's daunting at the same time, because
is it the problem? Like
I'm
going to say devil's advocate here. Like, everyone in this podcast is more wealthy than what we've ever been in the last 10, 15 years. We're all probably getting to a level of wealth that is enough, and we don't need to chase more based on the average person's standards. Mm-hmm. So why is tax such a problem? Is tax the problem, or is wanting more the problem?
No, I think wanting more, right, is a good thing. I think comfort.
Said with the cheeky greedy grin.
Like,
greed is good.
No, not greed, right? It's the same thing. Like, why are you on a health kick right now and you want a 6-pack? That's more. You look good already.
To live longer.
No, but you look good already. Having a 6-pack doesn't mean you're going to live longer. Do you know what I mean? No, like it's that's more. You want to look more better, more good, even though that doesn't make sense. People want to earn more money. People want, so it doesn't mean like, oh, I want to pay less tax. Like you look at Matt Cameron, he said one thing. He goes, on the same amount of income, the same amount of effort that I'm putting out, I forget what he said, but I think he was either 3 or 4 times better off in Bali, right? Like different life choices. Like you've got, like, do you enjoy cleaning? Do you enjoy doing laundry? It's actually showing me when I'm doing this and then it brings it up, right? Do you enjoy, cutting the grass and doing this and doing that, or would you rather be with your kids?
No,
And this is what I mean. I love the challenge. Don't get me wrong. So it's not all about money. It's about choice. Like when I'm seeing in Dubai in my mate, like we're outside, and this is first world problems, right? And they have a maid, right? And she was servicing it, right? Where she's servicing us there, bringing out the food, bringing out this and bringing out that, and the kids, and some people are like, oh, well, what a wanker, you want that. But let me tell you, I've never had that before, but experiencing it for those couple days when we were hanging out is pretty cool, and the driver bringing him back, and like, so it just gives them more time, I guess.
We as humans, we adapt very quickly. I think it's one of those things that when I went back to the UK recently, even for those 7 days, I could see myself normalizing quite rapidly. And I think that's an important thing that when you go back to the Gold Coast and you go, oh, well, everything's pretty good, because it is pretty good. Obviously, there's those negative points as well. Like I said, when I went back to the UK, first thing I did was buy a stab-proof vest, and I felt very normalized. It was a beautiful sign. Got attacked a few times, but you get used to it. So it really just depends on your pendant for danger.
I'm picking on the tax thing because I don't really believe that the tax is the number one reason that you're considering such a move. I get this when in Melbourne, there's this feeling like, you live 20, 30 minutes from all your friends or whatever, and it's probably the same in the Gold Coast, but you don't see them. You don't see them because everybody's grinding, everybody's busy getting it done. And, if you take away the needs pay tax and you start to have someone clean your room and cook for you, and you start to have more time because you've got all these services taken care of, then that inevitably leads to more time spending time with friends and loved ones. And I genuinely think that's what it is, right? It's for some reason, and I don't know why it is, you go to Bali and everyone is in that mindset. Oh, we swim midday. We have time to breathe. We look after our bodies. We hang out with mates while these other things, these errands are getting taken care of. And I feel like it's something to do with the culture in the GC, Brisbane, Melbourne, where everyone's just busy grinding. It's like that.
It is.
I read the Little Miss Busy book to my kid, and I'm just like, fucking hell, like so many of us are like that. We're just busy for the sake of being busy.
It is the sake, Mark, but it's also just, the reality. Like I opened an email yesterday, and I'll show you this. This is for my apartment that still hasn't settled on the Gold Coast. It settles next year. So this is my body corporate bill. Where is the number? Here. The body corporate bill for like 4 months. It's $19,000. Now,
how's that relevant when you own an $8 million property? Like I don't. No, but my point is that focus is on that.
No, the point is that just living in these countries, you normalize just such a high cost of living right now. Like people getting, when you've got mortgages and investment properties and you're following the plan. There's just like you normalize having 3 subscriptions. You got Netflix, and you got all these things, right? You're just sort of that society that's you've got all this complexity and cost.
Like boiling the frog.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm saying. So, but moving forward, I don't want to get bogged down in it. But I saw a thing this week that was on Instagram, and it sort of said, somebody asked ChatGPT, if you wanted to live to 120, what should you do? And ChatGPT said, it's not diet and exercise and all these things. Number one is actually stress. The people who live the longest are in stress-free environments. And number 2 was community. They're living in communities where they've got a connection and a sense of purpose to life. And that was really, really interesting, because I think if you've got a sense of purpose and connections community, and you've got a lower stress kind of environment, you probably do eat better naturally. You probably, when you've got a sense of meaning and connection and purpose, you probably drink less, because I think those things are sort of a sideline or an add-on, to stress release of modern life. And
Can I ask you a question, Adam? Can I ask
Yeah.
you a question? And we can't prove the answer to this because it's kind of anecdotal, right? But
Yeah.
you, Eric, and myself, we used to all live within a 15, 20-minute radius of one another, right?
Right.
And we hardly just hung out at a cafe and things like that. It was always like when we're doing the podcast.
Correct.
If we were all living within 15 minutes of each other in Bali, how often do you think we would hang out?
A few times
More.
a week. No doubt at all. But that's a great question, Mark. It's a great question. In Bali, the big thing is it's super social. Same as Cyprus. It's super social. As soon as people here found I was here, Adam, we're going to the football on Wednesday night for the local derby. You want to come? So tomorrow night, I'm going to the local derby of Limassol versus Athens. And, like these kinds of things, it's just a different place, because the pace of life and the pressure is just lower, and there's more time and air in everybody's days. So the stress is lower.
To add on to that as well, is that the communities are smaller. So you are a expat in these places, and thus you will always try to find the familiarity that you have with people from the same cloth. So I've got friends here in Thailand who are from Australia, from New Zealand, from the Commonwealth areas, really. And it's just because those are the people that have sought me out, and vice versa, not for any other reason, but it's just, you understand what I'm talking about, let's congregate. Whereas if you're in the UK, well, everyone is the same. Everyone in Australia, quote unquote, is the same. So, yeah.
Like, I guess one of the things, right, because we talk about a lot of these things and what people can do. So if you're listening to this, one thing you can do right now is reach out to someone and organize that coffee, organize that catch up, organize that dinner, and do it with someone that you haven't caught up with in a long time. Not the go-to person. Surprise somebody that you haven't hung out with for a while, that you think can add value to your life, and you can add value to their lives. I'll give you an example. I met this couple in Brisbane at a hotel that we were staying at. They walked in and they stuck out like dog's balls. I'm like, they're Lebanese from Sydney straight away. I'm like, they just stuck out, right? The way they were dressed, they look good. They just stuck out. Anyways, met them in the pool. We created a relationship. They're now coming to the Gold Coast. They arrive tomorrow. They're here for 5 days. They've reached out to us and said, hey, we're back, right? We're not coming to Brisbane. We're actually coming to the Gold Coast. They're staying at the Mondrian, right? Do you guys want to catch up for dinner? Why don't you come hang out here for the day, one of the day? And that's what we're doing. And all week, I've been looking forward to this. All week, right? Like that weekend that I went to your house with the kids, Mark, I think about that weekend a lot, because there was no schedule. It was cruisy. It was just us being organic, free. What do you guys want to do today? Let's have a barbecue. We cooked a barbecue on, breakfast, eggs and bacon on Mark's barbecue. We're just hanging out. And those are the things that I think that we need to do more of. Not, hey, let me set up a meeting for my business and network for a transactional thing. Do it non-transactionally. Just enjoy and hang out and just chat about nothing about business. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's very hard at times because I'm so business focused, but my wife helps me so much with that, to take yourself out of that. So in my opinion, go and reach out to someone that you can sit down with and just shoot the shit.
Adam, I know you're about to say something, but do you want to go first? Then on.
No, I was just I want to move off this point, but yeah, go on.
Okay, last thing. So Dom and I found this group in Ibiza, and it's like all e-commerce people, and they go and stay at this kind of retreat, whatever kind of place that's been put together, and then they have DJs and music and all kinds of different things. I don't know if it's like if economically the numbers would stack up and it'd be feasible, but if Unemployable created like a hub in Bali where people would go and like rent desks, and there'd be yoga classes, and the community could get together, work and just hang out. And you couldn't just do it like the standard workspace. It'd have to be like a VIP premium experience where, it's a high ticket item and things like that. But I reckon that would be such a hugely in demand product for this.
Shameless plug. We've already got 20 people interested and ready to go for the next 2026 Bali. So anyway, moving on to the next.
The next event is going to be in Bali. The next high-end event is going to be in Bali, which is going to be great. But I mean, this basically we're talking about going back in time in Australia, because Australia used to be like that before it became all about, real estate investment seminars and creating wealth and all this. If we go back 30 years in Australia, I think our parents, when there was less financial pressure on everybody, there was more time and more levity and more, I think Australia has a history of it. We are a social people. So moving forward, guys, one thing I want to talk about is, as we're sitting here, Mark, and it'd be interesting to get your talk, crypto's dumping. So Bitcoin's hit 104,800 while we're here. And I know a lot of our listeners own Bitcoin. I bought more Bitcoin not a week ago. I bought some at 110. I bought some at 18, and now we're down at 104. I'll just add my 2 cents at the start. I've been around this space for a long time. It doesn't even bother me in the slightest. But I know for people who are new to it, who might have bought, at 120 or 115 or 110 and be going, oh my God, and then they're in coin stats freaking out. What have you got to say about it, Macro Mark? What's happening? Why are we losing money?
Yeah, so there's some pretty big structural things that are occurring at the moment that I think is causing the price weakness. Obviously, you had the biggest liquidation event ever in crypto a couple of weeks back, and that creates damage, right? Because that is your marginal bid for crypto. They're the accounts that have the marginal bid, those ones that are using leverage, etc. They're creating the market, and they all just got wiped out. So that marginal bid kind of got wiped out. But what you're also seeing is the average cost basis of a Bitcoin has moved this year from 40,000. So the average cost basis of one Bitcoin for people, like Bitcoin's now 105, the average cost basis was 40,000. That's moved up to 55,000. So over 2025, you've had a heap of OG Bitcoin whales that have had Bitcoin since it was like $200 or $1,000 a coin, that they've started to liquidate their coins. You can see it in the on-chain data. They're basically taking their coins and they're selling them, and they've won, right? Like Bitcoin is now become mainstream. Bitcoin has an ETF. Bitcoin is now being promoted by BlackRock, and for the first time ever, they have the ability to take that money to come out into the light, but also there's the liquidity there to buy those coins, right? Previously in 2017 and 2020, if someone had tried to, sell $9 billion worth of Bitcoin, probably would have crashed the market, right? But the inflows to the ETF are actually creating a structural bid for it. Now, what that basically means is this is kind of the end of an era for Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin being that cypherpunk, me against the man, freedom technology kind of, that era is kind of coming to an end, and it is kind of being co-opted by Wall Street and by BlackRock. Now, that's not me saying that I don't think Bitcoin does a 10x over the next 5-10 years. I still think it does because of the debasement trade and because of everything we've been speaking about. I think that's why BlackRock and all these people are adopting it, because it's going to be their life raft. It's going to be their jump off asset, getting out of treasuries and getting out of stocks. But it's no longer that cutting edge place to be, right? Like now I think a lot of people are looking at AI because there's probably a faster 10x. Now, obviously much more risky, but if you were buying Bitcoin at $200, you're all for the ticket to the moon, right? You're all for taking that ticket to ride. So I think you're seeing a change in structure to the ownership of Bitcoin and who owns Bitcoin. It's now becoming a Wall Street asset. And I think as long as it maintains that 97 to 105, I think we're okay. If it does drop that level, I think we're going to go down to maybe 65, 75. But if we can maintain that 97 to 105 level for the next month or so, I think it'll come good. But yeah, it's changed, right? It's it's a different asset to what it was, and these are some of the things that we have. If you go back and you look, Jordi Visser wrote a really good piece on private companies after they IPO. After they IPO, they have like a big run up, and then they have a period of a year or so where there's a lot of digestion, because all these people that were in from like the early stage rounds 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 are now cashing out. There's now the liquidity for them to cash out, and I think that's what's happening with Bitcoin at the moment.
That post from Jordi Visser, I think, was the first original narrative in a while that I've read that made a lot of sense, and I think that's why it's gone viral. Jordi Visser's an iconic Wall Street trader, basically, for those of you who don't know. You can follow him on X, but he basically is saying in this long form article that Bitcoin is having its IPO. And I think that analogy is really, really good. Like, because, you think of like MX Store, for example, for people who don't really understand the analogy. Eric invested in MX Store when it was two guys that didn't even have a storefront. Like, your initial seed capital that you gave those guys was to help them open a small store just so that they could continue to sell online, because what was happening is they were selling their goods online cheaper than all the MX stores, motocross stores in Australia. And then those stores started complaining. And so the suppliers said, boys, if you want to continue, you need to open a store. Otherwise, that's how early Eric invested. He funded the opening of a small store on a Burley Town Road, or whatever the name of it was. And so there's this huge, back in the day, there's photos of Eric and the boys packing in the back, right? And then it's taken them however long it is today to have, 150 employees and $100 million turnover. So back then the risk profile was enormous. And Bitcoin, I've been having this conversation with people recently. When we say 10 years, it doesn't sound much. But if you think about what you were doing 10 years ago, where were you 10 years ago in your life? And just stop and really think about all the shit that's gone on since 2015. Like, where were you in 2015? What were you doing? I was in Los Angeles building an animation company, and I built Reliable Education and, all that in the last 10 years, like so much stuff. And that didn't even exist 10 years ago. It was a year before we really started to hit our straps with that. So, what's happened with Bitcoin is it's now, gone from this highly speculative thing. And as Mark said, we now not only have the bid at 100,000 people that will buy a coin at 100,000, but there's enough people buying that they can offload billions of dollars of their stock, if you like. And it makes total sense. And so what's happening is it's people, the new investors, we're in a rotation right now, which is why we've got this chopping sideways, which is these old investors, early high-risk investors are chopping out. And people go, well, why are they going? If Bitcoin's the best thing, why are they going somewhere else? Well, mate, you don't know. You haven't been through their 10-year journey. You're like $9 billion that person sold. That's generational wealth forever.
The thing is for these kind of people, right? These are the people that had the foresight to understand what Bitcoin is going to do, and because they had the foresight to understand what Bitcoin is going to do, they understand that the nexus of cryptocurrency and AI is going to be 100 times bigger than Bitcoin, right? And so these people have a view of the world that is going to allow them to take that $1 billion or $100 million and 100x that again, because they understand the nexus of the things that are about to occur. Can I share screen for a minute and show you, like back in October, I put in some on-chain data into ChatGPT, and I just want to show you guys. The predictions.
Share away.
Share away, mate.
Because what you got to understand is the thing that has happened, it creates a market structure dynamic. So the overall summary, this was back in October, the overall summary was in the next month will be down to sideways, and the key zones are 97 to 113, likely test of 97 to 100K. Then it said in 3 months, new range bound 97 to 125. We need to reclaim 113 to flip back to an uptrend. And in 6 months, so around about Q1, Q2 next year, the 145 to 175 potential with inflows and things like that. So you've basically got this directional roadmap that it provided me just based on on-chain data. So it's funny because you said that no one has put this piece together like Geordie did, but all the on-chain, like Checkmate and all these on-chain guys have been telling this story that the OGs are liquidating. But the way that Geordie kind of tied it together with what happens in Wall Street, I think it really hit home.
It's the only answer, really, because how do you explain the bid coming from ETFs? How do you explain this huge inflow of new capital that would have been a Bitcoiner's wet dream 3 years ago? The White House being pro-Bitcoin. How do you explain price just going sideways for a year? Well, it's simple. The old holders are selling down. You got to understand, this thing's created obscene amounts of wealth for the early investors, and we're just seeing a rotation. And this is where most people, I remember 4 years ago or 3 years ago, I can't remember exactly, but when Bitcoin was like down at 18, 19, 20,000, and Plan B came on and said, this is the time that humans should be buying. This was the lowest price likely in the history of Bitcoin. You'll never buy at this level again. Yet people won't, and they will stay sideways, and they'll wait, and it'll go up a bit. They'll say, I'll wait for it to pull back. And this is why most humans don't make money, is they sell when things go down, and when they hit the bottom, they wait and try to catch it on the way up. And if you're going to be in this space, guys, you just got to sit and just remember that if you look at like Amazon had 5 drawdowns of, I think, 80% or more between the IPO and today, that the people who held through that became some of the wealthiest investors in the world, but the rest of the people just quit when things got hard. So I just sit and wait, and I have a 10-year view, and I remember how much time 10 years is. 10 years is a long time, and you'll look back at this in a year or 2 years and go, oh my God, remember when it like dipped down from 120 to 108 and everyone was panicking, or 100, or even down to 90. And at that time, it'll be at 250 or 300 or something. So,
like you look at last 10 years, all my wealth, basically majority of it has been made in the last 10 years,
all of mine has.
Yeah. So when you look at that, but the thing is, it's like, we don't have snapshots of that, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, people right now will think 2015, shit, where was I? What was I going to do? You probably got to look up photos on Facebook and Instagram, go back to memories to go, actually, okay, yeah, now I remember where I actually was and where I was working or what business I had in this. So it'll be interesting to see, like, it'd be, if we could actually create more snapshots for ourselves and go, okay, here I am, like at the end of every year, at the end of every financial year, just go, this is where I am. This is what I'm thinking about. This is what's on my mind. This is what's keeping me up at night. This is what I'm invested in. This is what interested in. And then just look back, right? Because years just go by so freaking quickly. And you mentioned something earlier, going, the people that last the longest, right, are the ones that are less stressed. Well, let me tell you, I'd love to see a report going, how long do entrepreneurs and Bitcoin holders and real estate investors live versus people that don't? Because I'll tell you right now, right, I don't care what anybody says, how much conviction you have in something. Nobody wants to lose money. And if you have a big Bitcoin stack, right, and it's going down, I don't care what conviction someone has. There's a slight somewhere that is like, shit, right? Like, you'd rather see it go the other way. Like, there's just,
and Eric, there's this little bit of question of like, is this it? Is it going to fall apart? Like, it's even there at a small level for me.
Yeah, at a small level, right? Like, it's just like, holy shit, right? Like, and this is the whole thing. Like, I was talking to James today about, property and stuff. And he's like, I'm telling you, the US is going into a recession in 2026. It's the cycle. It's this and that. I'm just going like, like, you can't think like that. Like, if you think that things are going to go into a recession or things are going to go, you'll do nothing. You'll be scared shitless, and you'll just sit there and do absolutely nothing, right? You got to try. We all have to stay positive, right?
The one thing, Eric,
once the shit hits the fan, then work it out. But don't anticipate the shit hitting the fan. Let's anticipate things getting better.
use the cycle to your advantage, right? Like you can't control the cycle, but you can control the property that you buy. You can control the what the price that you buy at. You can control all those things. I must have said something in the last podcast about diversifying and have time. Like put a little bit in gold, put a little bit in Bitcoin, put a little bit in AI and whatever.
Yeah.
And someone hit me up and kind of not called me out on it, but just said, you know, like, hey, I think he said he was a Sparky who he's running like he's trying to build upon that business, and he's just taking the spare cash that he's got and he's putting it into Bitcoin. I still think that the best trade for someone who, you know, doesn't have the freedom to research stocks or to understand macro and to follow charts and things like that, the best risk adjusted trade is to keep working on your job and maximize the opportunity from your current skill sets the best you can, and then take any additional funds that you can and put them into Bitcoin. That is still now that it is co-opted by Wall Street and it is an asset of Wall Street, it's probably the best risk adjusted investment that you can make, because the volatility might not be as bad as what it was in 2021 or 2017. I think the comments that I was making were more for, you know, people like Adam or people like Eric is moving into the next stage of his career where he's thinking more about investing and diversifying and not having to hit a home run within a year. You know, you can have 3 or 4 different bets and let them sit for 10, 15 years and you can do very, very well. But, you know, yeah, for someone who's out there working a job, or for an 18, 19, 20-year-old, rather than saving for a house, I think the way to go is to save in Bitcoin, and you'll be able to buy much more.
I mean, the other aspect in there, Eric, did you want to say something there?
No, I was just going to say we're all hedging bets, right?
Yeah,
we're all hedging bets. Like I can sit there now and go, you know what? Let me sell out of the group of companies, our online stuff, and just be happy with what I would get today. But I'm hedging bets. I'm going, you know what? We're going to grow. We're going to buy more domains. We're going to do different things. I'm hedging the bets.
One thing you can do, guys, which came out of my interview with Janine Howard, which is out on Sunday, like, and this is so powerful if you can do it, but like Janine and I were just talking yesterday. It was such a relaxed podcast. It's very different to anyone I've done before. I think you'll really enjoy it, guys. But, you know, she said, you know, we spend $500 a week for our apartment in Syros. We've got a top floor apartment with a roof that looks over the Aegean Sea, and it's full of Mediterranean sunlight. And we don't have our kids in school. We don't have private school fees. We homeschool our kids. We eat organic. She said the food here on Syros is better than anything in Australia because it's all organic, naturally grown. As you said, we don't have the time preference of what we used to have in Australia. And they said we lived on the Sunshine Coast. We had 2,000 square meters of land. We had chickens. We had dogs. We had, you know, the dream life. But we had a mortgage, and we had an investment property that had a mortgage, and we had another one, and we made a mistake. We bought one in a mining town. We had all this stress. Now, because our cost of living is so low, $500 a week fixed, and if there's a problem, we just call the landlord who comes in and fixes the plumbing or whatever, and we've got a big wedge of cash that we've invested into other things. We can hold through things like this without any stress. But it's when you're under that high cost of living, and they say we pay no tax, and we pay no tax. We spend $500 a week renting this beautiful apartment in the Mediterranean, and we can weather. We're so much more positioned to weather the ups and downs of high growth investing as compared to the average Aussie who cannot sustain those things.
True.
So,
just
and this
just
is
to
what
add
we're
on
talking
that,
about, a lot of Bitcoin. Yeah,
just to add on that, my apartment in the city center of Bangkok, literally I can walk down that way and then I'm in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
I'm paying a 3-bedroom apartment, all en suites, swimming pool out there, gated small community. I'm paying, I believe, Aussie dollars like $1,600 a month.
$400 a week. Yeah,
that gets you a 1-bedder in a busy street in St Kilda, like with fucking a shoe box.
My apartment.
And your tax liability is like super low, right? Like what's your tax rate there?
So depending on how you structure yourself, and depending on how you put money through Thailand, any money that is remitted to Thailand can go up to anywhere between up to 30%. But that's any money that's remitted through Thailand through a Thai bank. So then if you have a digital DTV visa, anything that you bring in will have to go through other countries that you're running your business through. So for instance, like what Tony's doing, he's got his business registered in Dubai, which means that he's paying 0% tax on his business and then lives in Thailand tax-free, if that makes sense. So there's
0% in Dubai, or is it 9% in Dubai?
9% corporate, 0% personal.
And then for me at the moment, I'm still paying tax in South Korea because I'm a Korean registrant. And at the moment, my wife and I are actually contemplating if I'm going to become a Korean citizen, because it's actually easier for me, and the tax, the benefits of it are massively better. Just for the fact as well that you get one of the most powerful passports in the world. It's like number 3, I think, at the moment. So
what are the top 3 most powerful passports?
Singapore, Japan, and then South Korea, thumbs up as well. I believe that Australia's in the top 10 as well.
Yeah.
But I think England's dropped down pretty significantly. So I've been going, do I really want to stick to that?
There are options out there. You know, I'm off to Panama in February to set up a corporate structure there, and I'm actually looking at doing some stem cells while I'm there. I've got a call with
tell us about that.
Yeah. So I got a call with them tonight with the anti-aging place in Panama. So, but you know, I'm looking at going over there and setting up. You know, you can basically get your tax to 0. So I'll fill you in more on that when it comes about. But
didn't I say that as well? I was saying it to people is we'll have to do a Panama 2027 then networking event.
It's really funny because Eric, you're about to finish your home, and we're like Dom's trying to convince me to renovate this place here in Suffolk Park, and it's like the more and more we have these conversations, I think to myself, Jesus, I'd be so much there'd be so much less stress if we just sold everything, went to Bali, and just cruised.
By the way, that's the thing, right? Like Jen, like what you just said there, Adam, about that couple. That's what Jen wants to do for a year. That's what she wants to do. She literally wants to live on a Greek island and hang out and just hop on a plane and just enjoy and embrace and not worry about things and what everyone else is doing. And there's a part of me that I'm committed to it now, but there's still a part of me that is just like, yeah, but you know, what about this and what about that? Like I just start thinking, you know, and like as much as this house that we're building, the process has been, you know, it's been a journey, right? And we're gonna love every minute of it while we're there. But in such a weird way, I'm looking forward when it's sold, like in a weird way, because it comes with stress, right? It comes with, I know that, you know, the bills are going to be rolling in, you know, the electricity costs and this and that, and whether you can afford it or not, it's still there. And then I hear about these $500 a week. I'm like, it's going to cost me $500 a week probably in fucking electricity because of the sauna and the fucking hot tub and the wank. Do we really need that? Probably not. Do you know what I mean? Like, can you go?
I'll tell you something.
Go in Bali and then pay $50 a week, and you're probably in the best health and wellness center. You know,
you and Mark are both going to realize something, which I'm telling you right now. If you pursue this path, and Mark, I can see you doing it first because you're such a hippie, but when you do, as I think you will at some point, both of you. And if you ever get liquid and you just decide to do that and pull the plug and say, we're done, you're going to realize that you overshot by so much on your wealth creation. But you're going to get your place in Syros or whatever. And you'll just go, what the fuck was I thinking? Why do I need all this? Like, you know, Eric, you're going to get liquid at one point and you can have $100 million or whatever it is. And you go, what the fuck? You know, like, because like as I said, I'm here with my mate, Ephraim, who's 59, and you know he's in a rebuild phase of his life. We're really close mates, but mate, you just realize in the end, like you don't really need that much. Yeah. Once you've had the car and all the shit, you know, and you've had the big house, anyway, it's fun and games. But
I need to
we
get
run,
on start watching these podcasts, these episodes.
I think Mark, you and Dom would just take to a ducklet to water. And I think Eric, you would too with the kids, and just listen to Janene's chat, because it was a really I don't normally pre-promote a pod as much as this one because it's just so different. It was just two people.
Yeah.
She's 52, I'm 51, and we just sat and it was just like we're having a cup of tea for an hour, just talking about what was it like, like I asked her, did you get anxiety? I called it getting off the property ladder anxiety, like all your friends going, oh my God, you'll never buy back in. And like you're giving up. You won't ever get a 2,000 square meter block at the end of we've all got this narrative and this story about what we've got and how amazing it is. And don't ever give up because you'll never get back on. And, and we talked about these real things of extracting yourself. Yeah. It's kind of cool.
That property anxiety or that FOMO about not being able to get back in, I reckon that like property prices are going to continue to keep going up, but everything else is going to go up around it so much more ferociously that the FOMO is going to be in other places. The FOMO is going to be in gold, in Bitcoin, in AI, in tech stocks. It's not going to be in property like it has been over the last 40 years.
And there is other opportunities out there now, even with property outside of Australia. And I'm working on something at the moment, which I won't announce now, but I'll share with you guys soon. But I'm doing it myself first. But that are just really viable ways to get superior returns by just thinking a little bit differently. So I'll share them, but I'll be the guinea pig on it first myself. So guys, I know, Eric, you got to go in a few minutes. So I just looking down the list here of what's going on, I just wanted to drop a recommendation. Elon is back out in the world on the pod circuit for a minute. 2 amazing podcasts came out this week. One was with the boys from All In. If you haven't listened to that, listen to Elon on the All In pod. And the other one is with Rogan. So it looked like he went to Rogan on the same day because he was wearing the same T-shirt on both pods. But both of those pods were just absolutely extraordinary. Just getting to spend a couple of hours with this remarkable human. But I just don't know how anybody, after watching these pods with Elon, could not believe that this guy is actually a good human being who's doing amazing things for humanity. So if you are an investor of any kind and you don't watch those 2 pods, you are missing out on, I think, he is a leading indicator of where the world is going. He talked openly about AI. He talked openly about the future of phones and communication and satellites and just such interesting stuff. What's that? Flying cars.
Potentially flying cars.
Yeah, he teased that the Roadster's coming and it may actually fly. And he said that the actual demo may be out this year in the next 8 weeks. And he said, in his words, it will be the most memorable product reveal of any product in the history of humanity. Now, Elon does, love to promote, but that's a pretty big statement,
He's cooking. He's cooking at the moment, though. The reality is he's cooking, and usually when he's cooking, something bakes. And you're so right, Adam. Like the amount of vitriol that he gets from these old Wall Street guys who criticize the valuation of Tesla and everything like that. Like, have they stopped for a minute and just listen to what the guy is attempting to do? Like, love him or hate him or whatever his companies are worth. Like, I don't understand why they take it so personally. It's quite incredible.
Him and Elon Musk, there's some interesting data him and Donald Trump, when you look at the amount of negative news coverage to positive, I think there's something like 80 or 90% of news coverage of Donald Trump and Elon Musk is negative. And I have my stock app here with, that tracks the stocks that I'm in. And if you look at Tesla, right, look, this is in the Apple stock app. If you look at the news items here, right, number 1 from Barron's, Tesla investors have a new worry. From Reuters, Tesla sales resume fall in European markets in October. And
the stock is like $10 or $15 off all-time highs.
Yeah, Tesla registrations, these are headlines. Tesla registrations in Denmark fall 86% year on year in October.
Yeah.
And none of them actually give any weight at all to the fact that, like, Rogan asked him, Elon, is there any world in which you won't retail and sell cars anymore, where you'll no, sorry, it was Jason Calacanis and All In asked him, where you'll just become a car manufacturer for the robotaxi network, which is a really interesting thought in itself. They don't realize that Tesla's not a car company anymore. And these articles zero in on regional sales of their vehicles as if that's the future of Tesla. It's so interesting.
I'm just waiting for him.
Go
one more
ahead.
recommendation to add on to the end of that. It's Adam Jonas from Morgan Stanley. He's probably like the only Wall Street bull on Tesla. He just upped his price target to $800. And he created a 23-minute podcast called AI is About to Get Physical. The robots are coming. Please go watch that as well, because
What's
I
his
don't
name?
think Adam Jonas, it's on the Morgan Stanley channel. And it's AI is About to Get Physical, and that's the title, and then it's the robots are coming. And it's like a short documentary. I don't think that people really understand, and maybe we can talk about this on a future episode, but I was using AI to basically, so it's kind of a side tangent, but robotics are coming and micro devices are coming. Like the world of devices that we have is about to get disrupted. So I was NVIDIA, and I was one of the phone companies, I think it was NVIDIA and Qualcomm or something like that, are teaming up to, it was Nokia, NVIDIA and Nokia are teaming up to make this device, right? And I'm going to butcher exactly what it does, but basically you've got these big language learning models that are trained in big data centers with heaps and heaps of chips, right? But you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of different, thousands and thousands of different edge devices, and they're going to need to run NPUs, not GPUs, which is basically like a mini brain that then links to a local tower that it bounces off, right? So Nokia and NVIDIA are creating this thing that allows these mini devices to bounce off the local tower, the local networks, and to do their thing. I kind of put that into Gemini and said, what are the implications of this? Give me 50 products that haven't been invented yet that will be invented because of this technology. And the amount of products that it gave me, I'm like, holy shit. That was the moment where I said, oh my God, we're not thinking big enough. Yes, there's going to be displacement in different jobs, but everything is about to change. Like things like if you're riding, you could have this little sensor on your helmet and it could talk to you and say, car approaching, because everything that you have, every product that you have is going to have its own internal brain. Right. And so just play around with that, go and put that into ChatGPT. And yeah, the imagination of so many people is just not big enough. It frustrates me at times, especially on X, listening to people with always the negative point of view. But yeah, the world is about to change and people just don't understand the technology.
People don't understand it. They don't have the time because they're betting on the Melbourne Cup and
Eric,
betting on the horses.
These people who
that's the reality.
It's their job. It's people who it's job to understand, like all these analysts that are giving Tesla a sell rating and the stock should be $97. It's their job to understand, and they're the propagators of all the negative and wrong news.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for Elon Musk to say that he's running for president again, so that the stock can come back down again to 237. I just looked at it. April it was $237, man. Like it's almost double that right now. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I bagged up under 330, thankfully. But look, it's guys, it's. I just want people to think in 10-year stretches, and if you can rearrange your life and your mindset, just not be so focused just on the here and now. Just remember, 10 years is all you need to create wealth, but it's a long time. 10 years is a long time. A lot can happen in that time. So people who are holding Bitcoin today, just relax. Like just don't panic sell, just hold. If you own a stock that's down, like I've been hammered because I bought into Bitcoin treasury companies. I've gone deep this past week and I'm very, very comfortable with my positions in those companies as well, because I understand what they do and will do. And so I'm just holding. So it's just learning to hold, learning to understand if you want high growth stuff, there's going to be volatility, but you get paid really, really well if you're right. And so just chill.
One more thing as well, Adam, and on that kind of 10-year plan, like a lot of people this was me included before I kind of knew all you blokes, I thought to myself, I just wish that I could reach out to Adam, or I just wish that I could reach out to Eric and ask their opinions on certain things. And eventually I did, but not to sell you guys short or anything, but today we have something better. We can literally go on to Gemini or Grok or ChatGPT, and we can ask all of universal consciousness these questions. Okay, I've got a 10 to 15 year horizon. I want less stress in my life. These are my current assets. This is my current job. These are my skill sets. Give me a plan that minimizes stress, but allows me to compound my wealth at 20 to 25% a year and get me to this X destination. And you're going to get a better response than in 5 minutes than any of us could give you in spending a whole
100%.
day with you.
So I can tell you, it's just blackjack. I could just tell you now, blackjack.
Yeah. 10K challenge.
Guys, that's it for another week. Thank you so much for coming back in. Guys, if you're enjoying the content and you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. It's the one tiny thing that's free that makes a huge difference to the pod. It enables us to get better guests. Please do that. Perry, thanks for coming in at the last minute, mate. We appreciate you. And thank you personally to all my followers, because this week I passed 100,000 on Instagram, and I just wanted to say
congratulations, mate.
Well
That's
done.
a big accomplishment. You know what? I actually mentioned this to you too. I forget who we were talking to. Maybe it was Perry or a couple of us. And we're talking about Fugazis and all these people with followers, 700, 800, 900,000 followers within 5 years and this and that. I go, that's when you know it's a bunch of rubbish, because I know Adam. And I know Adam's been building his Instagram for 7 years, and he's been going hard probably for the last, maybe 3-4 years, Adam. And Adam puts out, this isn't pissing in his pocket. He puts out good fucking authentic content, right? And he's got 100,000 now.
Yeah, it took 7 years. 7 years.
Man,
and
I
remember when I was
at all these other people would.
I was at 65, Eric, and I got an email from Instagram saying, we've detected that you have roughly 20,000 bot followers. This is a one-time opportunity. Would you like to dump those followers? And I said, yes. And I remember going from 63 to 43 overnight, thinking, oh my God, have I done the right thing? And I actually did a purge, and I dumped 20,000 followers. So they're absolutely real followers. And yeah, it is a big milestone. It's been a lot of work, but it's really been an amazing journey, and the opportunities that it's brought have been beyond ridiculous. So anybody out there building content, and creating content, I just can't encourage you enough to stay consistent, make it something that you get good at. And remember, the most important lesson from it all is trust is tantamount. Like, it is the most important thing.
And I want to, one more shout out to, I don't know if he'll be listening to this or not, but I'll message him and tell him that we dropped him a comment is Dom, because Dom's been so consistent. He's part of our community. He's been so consistent in his content. Like, he's posting 2-3 times a day. Real organic content, good content in the property side of things. And he's, I think, at almost 40,000 followers, man. And he literally started with 0 not too long ago.
Tom would be nearly 60, right?
Man, and he's almost 60 years old. Like, he is just doesn't give a shit. He's on front of that camera and he just spitting out content. People, So well done, man, because it makes me look like shit.
Is it Dom Bagnado?
Yeah. He's killing it.
40,000. Wow.
Almost 40. I think it's 35, 36,000. Like, every time I look at, I'm actually tracking his fault, like because I watch his content. I'm just like, it's going up by thousands in real organic, man. Like, it's just, it is.
Follow him, guys. If you,
I remember speaking. Yeah, give us his handle. Give us his handle. I remember speaking to
the invisible architect.
But it's the.invisible.architect. Go comment on one of his on things saying Unemployable sent me here, and we'll see if he gets back to us.
No, he's a great guy.
There's some cool
the consistency.
And WhatsApp just released an update this week that every new follower you can get, not WhatsApp, ManyChat, every new follower that you get now, you can automate a welcome, which is a really cool, nice feature that says, hey, Perry, thanks for following me. Appreciate you, Adam. And you can automate that with every new follower. Anyway, look, we could go on and on about this part. That might be a discussion for another day. But guys, thank you for joining. Appreciate you. And we'll see you on the next episode of Unemployable. Bye for now.
Hey there. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Unemployable. If you'd like to watch another episode, just click there.